Welcome to Crisis in Perception, where we examine the systems shaping our world, one book at a time. So let me ask you a question. When you hear the word fascism, what image pops into your head? For most of us, I bet it's something pretty specific. Jackboots, violent rallies, the whole brutal police state thing. It's a loud, angry, terrifying picture that feels like it belongs in a history book. But what if a new kind of power didn't have to be brutal? What if it was subtle, efficient, maybe even a little bit seductive? What if it didn't arrive with a boot on your neck, but with a friendly, reassuring smile? Well, that's the central warning from a pretty startling book that came out way back in 1980 by a political scientist named Bertram Gross. He saw what he called a slow and powerful drift that he believed was quietly reshaping the very face of power in America. The book is called Friendly Fascism, and yeah, it makes a pretty radical argument that a whole new type of authoritarianism could emerge, not through some violent revolution, but through a slow, gradual, almost invisible evolution. So what in the world is friendly fascism? Well, Gross defines it as a system where a powerful corporate state alliance exercises control, but not through terror. Instead, it uses subtle, managerial, and super efficient methods that eventually just become accepted as normal. You see, the core idea here is that this new kind of power wouldn't need to break down your door. It would be invited right in, disguised as progress, convenience, and security. Okay, so that's a huge idea. How could a system like this actually work? Gross argues its logic unfolds through a few key pillars, operating with what you might call a velvet glove instead of an iron fist. It all begins with a really deep alignment of big business and big government. We're talking about the point where the lines between corporate interests and state interests get so blurry that they basically merge into one single integrated establishment that works to manage society toward a shared agenda. Gross called the heart of this the Chief Executive Network. This is where the top corporate leaders and political leaders work so closely together, kind of moving through a revolving door between boardrooms and government offices, that their goals and their methods become pretty much indistinguishable. And this is where it gets really clever. The tools of corporate management literally become the tools of governance. So for example, public relations, which is normally used to sell you products, is now used to build a friendly, benevolent image for the establishment itself. Or think about management information systems, the stuff companies use to track profits and losses. That same logic gets applied to politics to frame massive, complex decisions as just rational, technical, inevitable business choices, and that just neatly pushes any moral or ideological debate right off the table. This technocratic authority gets even stronger when the public is, whether by design or circumstance, increasingly disconnected. And you can see all the things that drive that, right? We're more fragmented socially, feeling more isolated. There's an endless stream of consumer distractions, and the information we get is often carefully managed. It all combines to create this widespread disengagement. Because let's face it, when people are anxious and just trying to get by, they're a lot less likely to participate in complex civic life. And the end result of all this? It's a kind of soft authoritarianism. Control isn't maintained by force, it's exercised through carefully designed incentives, the seduction of consumer comforts, and the subtle management of the choices you think you have. It doesn't feel like oppression at all, it just feels like the smooth functioning of a well-run machine. Now, this can all feel a little abstract, I know, but Gross gives us a really powerful visual metaphor that honestly just perfectly captures the whole dilemma. He describes what he calls a gilded cage. The cage part, that's the system of subtle social and economic controls. But the gilding, that's the masterstroke. The cage is padded with all the consumer comforts we love, endless entertainment, and this constant illusion of freedom and choice. Of course, there's a price for living in this beautiful prison. We trade our true agency and our deep democratic participation for a sense of security and convenience. So what does this all really mean? Well, it means that control can be disguised as simple efficiency, and oppression can actually feel like convenience. A system like this doesn't need to be overthrown with force because, for the most part, it's willingly accepted. The first, and by far the most difficult step toward any kind of real freedom, is just becoming aware that the cage even exists. Gross's work doesn't give us any easy answers, but it absolutely leaves us with a vital question. It challenges all of us to look past the comfortable surface of our modern lives and really ask about the nature of freedom in a world that is this complex, this managed. For the full, long-form deep dive into this book and its ideas, follow the link in the description. If you enjoy these explainers, please subscribe and comment with books or topics you'd like us to explore next.